Well, I have, let's say, thoughts, concerns even. This is still awesome television. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel and another episode of Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies, the live video podcast for people who are looking for a deeper conversation about the films and tonight television shows, TV shows we watch today. Now, if you like this kind of thing, please like, subscribe, maybe ring-a-ding that bell. Okay, enough of that nonsense. All right, tonight, solo show tonight. Jim is not going to be joining me. Tonight I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about, of course, Andor, specifically episodes 7 through 9 of Andor Season 2. So, yeah, let's get the show on the road and spoilers ahead. All right, let's get into, I have notes, everybody. Yeah, here's a quick summary. Of course, when we were last, at the end of episode 6, did a show, you can see it up here. Of course, Dedra's false flag operation was up and running, and on Gorman. Of course, poor Cinta bought the biscuit. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Bix was deep in post-traumatic stress disorder from her being tortured by the ISB, and but by the end of season 6, she tortures her torturer. Bit of poetic justice for that bastard. And then her and Cassian blow up an ISB facility. Meanwhile, Mon Mothma's incredibly ineffectual lobbying of her senators continued, one failure after another. Last but certainly not least, Luthen, Clea, and poor Lonnie, Luthen's ISB double agent, have an incredibly close call debugging Skuldens. This fellow's
debugging Skulldun's personal art gallery, while Mon Mothma has a bit of a real kind of a philosophical argument and calls what the Empire has done, what the Emperor has done, what Krennic has done, calls the genocide a genocide. And yeah, that's kind of the end of season 6. Of course, 7 through 9 is 2 years before the Battle of Yavin. It's a year after those events. And yeah, Bix and Cassian are now on Yavin. Dedra's on Gorman with Cyril. Poor Cyril, he's getting a case of the empathies for the locals, and he's perhaps realizing he's in way over his head. That this is, he's been actually party to a freight train that is no longer under his control, if it ever was. Even Dedra seems to be getting, maybe not second thoughts, but getting a little queasy about the implications of what's about to happen on Gorman. Luthen gets through Wilmon, the young man who actually kind of starts the whole, really starts the riot or helps give impetus to the riot on Ferrix back in the first episode. Luthen, through Wilmon, gets Cassian to accept another mission. So he leaves Yavin, much to the chagrin of the growing rebel army, to go bump off Dedra. Meanwhile, back on Yavin, Vel tries to guilt trip Bix about Cassian's commitment to the rebellion. He's got to pick who he's working for. Can't have two masters in the fight against the Empire, apparently. And then, of course, Mon and her Mon Mothma and her fellow senators are just continue to be ineffective. But they're starting to feel the squeeze, but we also learn that maybe they've always had more plans. And we're starting to see how the rebellion sort of is fleshing out. So, with that out of the way, let's get into it. I read the log line, and I want to revisit the log line first before we get into the highlights and the lowlights and predictions. Of course, IMDb, Disney's log line: in an era filled with danger, deception, and intrigue, Cassian Andor embarks on a path that is destined to turn him into a rebel hero. Now, last time, again, I'll put a link up here. I was kind of struggling with what the emotional logline, what the story is really about. And you could kind of say that their logline is what they want you to think it's really about. But now I'm like, no, what the emotional logline is how someone becomes the ruthless bastard Cassian is in Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Because remember, we all know where this is going. It starts with Rogue One, and the first time we meet him in that movie, where he's just straight up, sorry, man, I know you're part of the rebellion, but the cause is more important than one man. Blam! Especially that poor schmuck. So yeah, I gotta admit, we could say it's really How to Lose Your Soul over 12 episodes of awesome television. That said, even though I do have thoughts, I'm still on Team See It. The series has been outstanding, and even though I'm a little concerned about how they're going to stick the landing, and I think we see some of those concerns come up in the last few episodes. It's still, again, fantastic television. Let's talk about some of the highlights. The massacre on Gorman. Great, a fantastic set piece. And another creator, let me see if I can't bring it up here. Another creator, Damian Walter, does some great work on sci-fi, especially sci-fi with a political political and social commentary, and really what other kind of sci-fi and even fantasy is there. But he put up a post, and here it is, where he kind of did shot-for-shot grabs of what happened in Gorman and what happened in the, and I'm gonna don't totally screw this, the Tlatelolco massacre in Mexico City in 1968, and it's disturbing how close it became, and of course it's one of those, you know, agents provocateurs perhaps, or just the Mexican military is like, we got to put these students down because these students are, you know, studenting or something. Well, they're pushing back on the powers that be, and well, that just can't happen. Anyway, I recommend, you click on, I put in the description a link to this post for Science Fiction with Damien Walter, and also a link to the Wikipedia article on the massacre in question in Mexico City in 1968. So yeah, that set piece was just fantastic. The way they built, whoopsie, never mind reading my notes. The way they built the tension in that, and then when it all finally blows up, and they really do kind of hold until right to the end, the trigger point. You know something's going to happen, you know something's bad, and they pull it off really, really well. Another thing, and this is where one of my predictions from last time was way off. I really thought there's a moment in this, and we saw it in the trailers, where Dedra is choking. And I really thought, oh, this is when we see Darth Vader motivating her, perhaps. But no. Part of the fallout of the Gorman massacre, is that Cyril dies in it. And she is having a meltdown, almost like a panic attack. We do learn in 7 through 9 that she does care for Cyril in a deep way, that they have plans, and that they have plans together, and not just, or at least the way I read is, their plans together were not just in a career way. They had ambitions, certainly, but they also had that they were in love as best as they could. And so Dedra, her lover, who, when she last saw him, tried to choke her to death, a little domestic violence, but she is having this kind of meltdown, and she's trying to get this collar off, which I said last episode. It's, I think it's a great part of the art direction, the costuming, and how all of them have either those ridiculous ties, which is basically leashes, the Imperials, or they have these ridiculous high collars, and it's all like, oh, well, there's put your collar on, you want to be part of the team. And that is what she's struggling with, is the effect of that collar, and that she's trying to get off, and she can't. And it's gut-wrenching. It's a gut-wrenching moment, just as it was terrible to see Val and here we go. Let's put some pictures up here. Just as it was gut-wrenching to see Val get crushed over poor Cinta's death in, what was it, episode 6? It is kind of gut-wrenching to see Dedra kind of lose it over Cyril's passing. That you really do kind of feel that. You feel her kind of getting crushed, and her inability to take off that collar. So I really felt that, and I did. I think it was another great chef's kiss, and it kinda sets up my prediction for later for Dedra. Um, that said, I do have other thoughts. I think there's some stutters in the storytelling, um, and one of those, stutters in the storytelling and other things we learn in 7, 8, and 9 that I think do not bode well for how they're gonna stick the landing here. Uh, and then some of it's just my own beefs with the Star Wars universe and canon and everything. But let's start with the minor stuff. Um, we see Cyril in Gorman, and he is trying to, it's a year later, and all of a sudden the rebellion, the nascent rebels of Gorman are giving him the cold shoulder. And he's like, listen, I've got people. Maybe we can just calm tensions down here. Because he doesn't realize, he still doesn't quite get that it's like, no, you're part of a false flag, dude. You were there to build the tensions. Um, so of course they're giving him the cold shoulder, and one actually right near the peak, just before or right on the cusp of the massacre, the head of this, it's kind of the head of this rebellion is like, "Oh, you bastard," and he's like, "No, it's not my fault." Ah. Why was he still alive? I was like, what rebellion wouldn't bump him off? Didn't he have an accident? Some cart run him over or something? Or they just assassinate him? They obviously don't trust him at all. Why is he still alive? That I really did. And then it's like, okay, because Cyril needs plot armor for when he really dies. Like, I never thought he was going to make it, but I was kind of surprised that they were doing this, and it's like, well, what's the point of it? I didn't quite get that. I didn't quite buy it, you know? Another area that kind of stutters in what's otherwise a pretty good another set piece. Later on, of course, Dedra does live. Uh, Cassian fails in his mission to assassinate Dedra because, of course, he got there too late, and everything, the massacre happened, and he barely got out with his life. And a souvenir, which we'll get into in a second. But old Mon, as Cassian's trying to rescue Mon, extract her out of the Senate building when she's just given a fiery speech. Whoops. I did not want Cyril on there. I wanted Mon Mothma on it. So Mon Mothma's given this big speech in the Senate, fiery, saying it's wrong on what's happening on Gorman, what the media is saying. It's all a big cover up. The emperor has let these people, the empire, the ISB, the military, the security forces are starting to commit a genocide upon the Gorman people. Of course, that is not the message that the Imperium wants out. And so, of course, they're going to go arrest her. There is shenanigans. There's Bail Organa's people who are supposed to rescue him. There's somebody on the inside there, not one of their friends. So, of course, Cassian goes to extract her. People get shot. And not once, but twice. Oh, Mon's like, oh my God, you shot that man. And it just kind of, it's a bit of an eye poker to me that even right to that point, she knows what happened to her friend Tacoma in episode 6, or maybe it was episode 5. Anyway, first half of the show. She knows what happened to him. Oh, it would have been episode 3. It still bothers her She had a thing with Luthen about it. So all of a sudden, as she's being rescued and they're trying to arrest her, now she's like, I can't believe you shot that person. Like, really? Jeez, Mon. That stutters. That said, maybe it's, I don't know, I'll get into the why they might have done that, but it did. It was a bit of an eye poker. I was like, kind of, really? Okay. Another eye poker for me was Bix. Now, this was a prediction I did not get right. I really did think it's like, notwithstanding the catharsis she got out of torturing her torturer, well, poetic justice, as I said before, that isn't enough. That's not the way PTSD works. And Andor, up to episode 6, had been so grounded that I'm like, yeah, that's, we've probably seen Bix at her best. And in the down as 7, 8, 9, I was like, yeah, this is where her drug addiction gets worse. Her ability to handle herself gets worse. You know, I don't think Bix is long for this world, and I think we're going to see maybe not her fall, but her suffering even further. They didn't do that. She's sad. You can tell she's bummed out, but she's okay. Even makes moves later in the, like in episode 9, right at the end, which even that one, I'm like, really? But we'll get into that. Another thing, though, and this is really where I am Cassian, the Force, destiny. We finally see a Force healer. Of course, Cassian thinks she's a quack. Bix is like, oh, you've got this wound. It's getting, we got to go see her. And then the Force healer makes an airy-fairy, kind of prediction about him. And, oh, there's something special about this one. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. One of the things I have enjoyed about Andor to date is that we don't see the Force. There isn't all these special magical powers. There isn't a chosen one. And now all of a sudden, apparently Cassian maybe is kind of chosen. Not high-level chosen, but, Luthen says, maybe there's something to this because you were there when I needed you. You were here, you were here, you were here. And it's like, one of the things that Cassian is always trying to make sure he does is that he's got choices, that he makes choices. But I think that's a great thing about his character. It's also a great thing for storytelling. Once you remove choices, especially in a fate kind of thing, it really starts to feel like, well, we already know he's going to survive, but this kind of plot armor, or not even plot armor, it's plot reasoning. It's almost like exposition. This is why he'll make it. And I'm like, couldn't it just be that he's a scrappy fellow who, never gives up and, struggles and all that other stuff? But no, apparently the Force is involved and he has a higher power to serve. He's got a higher purpose. And this, of course, leads to, referred to how Val guilt-tripped Bix about Cassian, about how they need Cassian as part of the rebellion, and really about the army versus Luthen's, weird little special ops kind of unit that he's got going on there, and how he's got to be part of the team and everything. And it's like, except for this Force thing, it's why do they need him? Like, by the time we get to Rogue One, which I say this now, and let me know, comment, or comment in the description if you want my full take on Rogue One Star Wars story. But I gotta tell you, that is a mediocre movie with some great ideas. But if they're hell-bent on making sure that this ends with the Cassian we see in Rogue One, That guy isn't that important. He's just a specialist, a ruthless specialist. And so we're getting these mixed messages that he's really important to the rebellion, but he doesn't really seem to be that important. You know, Jyn Erso, one of the weakest characters to lead a movie, you know, has way more bizarre importance in the second half than he has in the whole thing. You know, you never really get the idea that he's anything other than a specialist soldier. And so when they do this, I got to admit, I'm like, well, why do they need him? Why is he so important to them? You know, he's very competent. He's a great guy, but he certainly doesn't seem to be in any way like kind of a leader. Again, he's more of a loner specialist. He does special projects, takes care of things, bit of a fixer. But you know, Luthen wanted him to be a leader. We don't see that. We see a glimpse of what he can do at the beginning of season 2. You know, but by the end, he's got to be just another ruthless bastard. So why? You know, this is what I struggle with. And that is, I guess that's why it comes to, and this is, I think, my real, if I've got a beef with it, and beefs might be a little strong, again, it's still great television, but I'm thinking the real problem here is that it looks like the filmmakers are going to make sure, and I don't know if it's Tony Gilroy or if it's just Disney saying, okay, you have your fun, you have your kind of revolutionary fun, but by the end, it better fit into canon. And I think that's it. They're going to make sure that it fits into the Star Wars fate and the Force cosmology. And it guts it as a critique or a counterpoint to the big man theory of history that drives Star Wars. Star Wars is, for as much it's a galaxy and worlds blowing up and millions, it's really just, it's the story of one small family who apparently runs the universe. And that's really that sucks, you know, for something like Andor, where it is about one guy as part of a larger thing, but he is one guy. Not any special destined thing, not one of the big leaders, that he's, a special. I was fine with that he's one soldier doing his best to build a better world. Cool. A cadre. A cater, as Joel Bergman would say. That's great. But if it's all, it's almost like the everything we've sort of enjoyed and appreciated out of the season and the season 1 and half of season 2 is, well, okay, we've had our fun, but we got to fit canon, otherwise the fans will get upset. I mean, and especially to make it fit so it matches up with that mediocrity that is Rogue One. Steal a page out of the comic book world, retcon it. There's a movie that could be rebooted. I had to do a million reshoots anyway. Give us an Andor that fits the rest of it, even if it ends on this poor man, because I do think it's tragedy, this poor man who becomes ruthless and gets redeemed in Rogue One, but rewrite that so it's just a better movie. Rewrite Jyn Erso. You don't have to get rid of her, but you could rewrite her. You could just, redo that whole movie. Anyway, I think that's my real problem with it. Does this mean I think that 10 through 12 are going to be terrible? No. We've got a denouement. I think we're still in good hands. I just think that I'm going to look back and kind of go, oh, but something truly amazing could have happened, and it didn't. But anyway, let's let's move on. Let's talk about predictions, speculation, questions. We're going to start with, I think she's become my favorite, not a good person, but my favorite character, because I talked about it in the last show after episode 6 had come out. I find Dedra fascinating. I find her arc fascinating, and I want to see how it plays out. I do think here's my prediction. She gets the Axis program back from her former subordinate who kind of took it over, told her to get bent. She gets her revenge on him, bit of corporate revenge, but she is also trying to deal with the death of her lover, poor Cyril. And so she is going to be extra bent on, just like Val kind of blamed the rookie Gorman, who was an idiot and shouldn't have gone. And yeah, it all sucks that she blamed him for it, I think. And Cyril, when he attacked Cassian at the end of, during the Gorman massacre, you could almost see his rage. You're the reason my life has gone totally sideways. He's unleashing all his anger for how his life has went and how he just feels utterly destroyed. It's Cassian's fault. Cassian, who the hell are you? I think Dedra, because just as Cyril can't accept responsibility for his own behavior to a degree in the end, he wasn't able to go, I was a part of this. I went along with it. I don't think Dedra is going to do that. She's going to be hell-bent on revenge. And it'll be all focused on Axis, Luthen. We do see in some of the early trailers, there's a moment where she's obviously in Luthen's shop. His shop A. We see in a later trailer where is that? Oh, come on, Clea. Oh, there we are. We see Clea looking totally bedraggled, saying they have a thing. They've obviously discovered what the Death Star is. But yeah, I think Dedra finds Luthen, has a confrontation, and honestly, I think this is how Luthen buys it. And not only does Luthen buy it, but Luthen not only does Luthen buy it, but I suspect it's in the same confrontation that Dedra meets her demise. I think there is too much blood on her hands for her to be redeemed. She is not showing the behavior that says, oh, wait a second, even though I can feel for Dedra, and this is maybe why I think she's fascinating, is, yeah, all her behavior makes sense if she really was, raised in an imperial kinderblock, that her parents were criminals, probably, executed. Her whole behavior is striving for acceptance. She's always on the edge. It kind of fits why her and Cyril kind of work, why she's so wanting to, fit in and make that fit into that collar, and why she can't take it off. Yeah, no, it's goddamn Dedra. And yeah, I don't think she can, but hey, if there's a character that could be redeemed and it was Dedra, I think these are the right folks to write that in a way that's believable. But All right, where was I? Oh, okay. So talked about Dedra, talked about Luthen. Let's talk about poor Bix. Now, end of season or end of episode 9, Bix leaves. One of my favorite writing instructors talks about the beat at the end of the second act called Bobby Runs Away. Bix runs away, leaving poor Cassian on his own and making a choice for him. Basically, Bix is saying, I'm going to leave. We'll get together after the war is over. But that if I'm here, you can't focus on where you need to be. Gotta admit, kind of thought that was bullshit. Did not buy that. But it is an interesting thing. This still is Cassian's story, and it does create a moment. You can tell he's just he's bereft, he's lost. He still has to kind of figure out a way to turn himself around for the denouement. And if he doesn't, if it's all Bix, then more agency is removed from him, and I'm just become even more disappointed. So I'm hoping that there's a turn, and I half suspect either Cassian goes after Bix, or Bix returns because Cassian says, without Bix, I'm crap, and I'm not doing anything, which would be super cool. Damn. So yeah, I'm thinking Bix does come back. We see Bix again, and Bix buys it. Because the other thing is yeah, one of the great moments, one of the good moments in Rogue One is when Cassian says to Jyn, it's like, listen, I've lost people too. And remember, he's a ruthless bastard. He behaves like a man that doesn't have anyone waiting for him at home. So yeah, I think Bix buys it. Or, yeah, should, from a storytelling perspective. Let's go to let's go to Mon Mothma. And even, you know what? We got Lita. Let's not forget her daughter. And even her husband, Perrin. I mean, Mon, of course, she's gone to Yavin. We're starting to see how what we've seen are small rebellions. It's really fitting into a much larger alliance of multiple planets. Some of these senators have, had their little back channel conversations, figured out how to get off Coruscant, or are already in the process of escaping, while some are, Bail is going to stick around for a little longer, but really about she's going back to sort of formalize the alliance, to be part of that. And I think this is sort of where we do sort of learn more. Excuse me. Where we get to learn more about this. But I got to admit, I'm like, this is another bit of a bummer. I get it, but I don't like it. Is that it really becomes what could have been a revolution is really more about reestablishing the old order. Reestablishing, with the other elites, the thing that, and remember, at the beginning of season 1 of Andor, Cassian, because of the Republic, is taken off his planet. There's illegal strip mining, basically, and they're going to cover up the industrial accident that it was. And yeah, this is, the Republic is no saint here. And so here we really see, just a different part of the elites kind of reestablishing their control by taking over this rebellion. But I think that, and that this is also maybe where we find out that like Luthen may be more ruthless. He's got some arm's length capabilities here, but is he just another part of the group of elites that are really running the whole show? I think we'll find that out. I think that's the way it'll play out, roughly. In the end, it's still got to fit into the Star Wars cosmology, which is really about princesses and queens that are somehow Democrats, but not really. Mon is obviously from Chandrilla, is obviously one of the truly rich. They have their own castle up in a mountain. These are not peasants. But yeah, I think that's Mon. It'll be interesting, though. I still am. I'm kind of fascinated. What happens with Leida? I don't think we're just blowing that one off. What about old Davo Skulden? I don't think we've seen the last of him either. I don't really have a prediction on that one. Oopsie. I don't really have a prediction on that one, but I am curious about it. Vel, I think we've seen. I think we've seen as much of her. We might see her as part of the machine, but I don't think she has much story left in her. Same with old Willman. Willman is young, he'll heal, and he does have a girlfriend now, one of the Gormans. And which I also kind of find fascinating because he had a girlfriend on the, what was the planet called? The agricultural planet. I mean, apparently, Willman's popular with the ladies. Who else? I mean, we kind of know the deal with Krennic. Hey, we saw him in Rogue One. K2SO, we sort of see, I think we'll learn more about how he becomes Cassian's partner in crime / emotional support droid. Definitely, tough love there. Saw Gerrera. I still don't even know what the point of this character is. It's always just so weird. But I'm sure we'll see him one more time. Here's another one, Clea. Now this got to be one of my favorite characters also to watch. A chip off the old Luthen block, I would argue. And that is my last prediction here. I think Clea and Luthen are daughter and father. I think that's the connection between those two. And but we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. Who else? Who else am I missing here? I don't know if we'll see Cyril's mom again, although there might be an emotional confrontation between Dedra and Cyril's mom. We do see Cyril's mom cry. She's finally, because of Dedra, Cyril and his mom are connected. And he becomes a different guy. He does have some development. He's more confident. He's better with people. He's not the nasty little thug, the insecure little thug he is in the first few episodes. He becomes, a guy who can empathize with others, a guy who does call his mother even when his mother's driving him crazy. But, he checks in with her. He can manage her now. That's Dedra. Damn. Yeah, I got to admit, I'm kind of hoping they can figure out a way to redeem Dedra. But if she's got to die, I'm okay with that too. She is part of committing a crime against humanity. Who else? I think that's really about it. Oh, the Major. Yeah, I think it's another one of those ones where it's like, maybe he gets shot. Do we ever see him again? Does he ever, like, pop up in Rogue One or one of the other shows? I don't know. Um, we'll find out. We'll find out. Uh, I think I think that's about it. Maybe one more thing. I do think part of the theme is about free will. You know, what is Cassian about that things are his choice? Apparently, we're seeing the answer, but the Force. Not even the cause, but the Force. Ugh. Really hope I'm wrong on that, but I don't think I am. Another theme, revolution versus rebellion. Put a pin in that. But I also think that another question, another theme is about love, like real human connection. Um, I do think we saw in episode 6, I think it was episode 6, yeah, where Mon and Perrin, maybe they're not in love, but they maybe love each other. There's a companionability between them. They're not cruel with each other in it by the time we hit episode 6. She has a daughter who may detest her, and she may be mad at her, but I think she does love. She's also got a cousin that she worries about. You know, Mon Mothma is sort of flies the flag, not just for, hey, we should be calling spades spades here. She still feels for Tay, who was trying to shake her down. So, yeah, I think that's part of a theme, and sort of the question being asked is there room for love, for life, for living, for human connection in a rebellion, for when you have a cause? Really, is there room for that in Star Wars? And yeah, I gotta admit, I'm kind of hoping that however they end it, getting a little choked up here. I kind of hoping they can end it on that note, that there can be room for love, for life in Star Wars. Not just, hey, we survived, but hey, we can live. We can have that human connection. You know, you see, Vel is still affected by Cinta's death, but they at least had a moment, both Val and Cinta, where they had a night together, and not just of physical contact, but of reconnection. You know, yeah, even Bix running away so that Cassie can focus on the rebellion. They have real connection. There's, even Wilman, it's like, I'm not going anywhere without, what is her name? Drina. Wilman is making that call. So I gotta admit, what about poor Cassian? Does all he get is like K2SO? Like, geez, that sucks. Anyway, I think that's about it. Let me once again, folks, if you made it this far, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to ringy-ding that bell. Really appreciate it. One other thing, quick little notice. I do little teaser, when it's all over, within a week after it's over, it may be literally a week, because tomorrow night, I'm broadcasting this Monday, May 12th. Tuesday, May 13th is the last 3 episodes. On or before May 20th, I'll have a very special guest joining me, Droid Liberator. um, who is going to help me analyze this film from a political perspective. That regardless of how it plays out, there are a lot of lessons that we can draw from this film and ways of looking at this film, this TV series, these 24 episodes of awesome television, assuming the last 3 are great too. How we can draw lessons that we can apply in our own lives, that we can help to look at our own world more, let's say, from a more grounded material basis, you know? Anyway, with that out of the way, I think that's about it. Good night, everybody.